Namaste, I hope that you're doing well. So now today let us cover out cause of action. Now we will be covering out everything in a step-by-step basis, and today you will find out why did I open with 6, 7 and 8. Oh, by the way, what is order 6? Pleadings generally अगर बिल्कुल याद नहीं आ रहा तो कृपया करके याद लाने की अब कोशिश कीजिए because now it is high time क्योंकि अब पार्टी शुरू हो चुकी है राइट पार्टियाँ भी आ चुकी हैं सूट में तो हमारी भी पार्टी शुरू हो चुकी है 7 is plaint 8 is written statement, set off, and counterclaims. Order 21 is execution or rules 1 to 106. Alright, so all of this has to be on your fingertips. Order 1 is parties to the suit. It is as clear as that. Second में हम framing कर रहे थे. Third में we were appointing agents, right? But we won't go that deep right now. We'll come back to what is cause of action. So action is synonymous with suit. कि भैया cause of action ये suit पैदा किस चक्कर में हुआ है what is the cause of this suit and if there is no cause that exists the suit cannot survive. So we are specifically concerned with why have you approached this court, and you as a future judge, magistrate, judicial officer, you have to be obsessed with the cause of action because without this is the क ख ग इसके ऊपर ही सारी व्याकरण बनेगी इसके ऊपर ही सारे वाक्य बनेंगे right. Action is suit. So now what is the cause? Because if there is no appropriate cause and if you don't have the power, competency and authority to hear that cause, you as a judge, your court will not be able to hear that specific suit. It is as simple as that. So from the Vakil Sahab will be talking to the client, but as soon as the plaint is presented to you, you're going to check limitation, section 3, correct? You're going to check jurisdiction, 3 type की pecuniary, subject matter, and what was that, territorial, right? 3 type के आप jurisdiction check करेंगे. And then you are going to be scrutinizing the plaint as to it contains all the requirements under order 7 rule 1 or not, right? And what do you think the examiner will be testing you as a future judge? These aspects, not the wakalat wale aspects, these aspects, because you are technically you are applying for a job to be a judge, so you are going to demonstrate to him academically and theoretically speaking that you are going to be a good judge as compared to your competition. So therefore judgeon wala jitna kaam hai, for example section 165 of the Evidence Act, section 319 of the CRPC, stuff which we are learning in the CPC, जो ड्यूटी जो जज की है टू कंट्रोल द कोर्ट रूम, they become the most important sections in your judicial services का exam, alright? So the cause or set of circumstances which leads up to a suit. Action is suit, and what is the cause? The cause or set of circumstances which leads up to a suit. A cause of action arises when a legal right is infringed. Note this down word to word. Cause of action as used in the court is every fact that is necessary for the plaintiff to prove that he is entitled to a decree in the suit. Now cause of action is not statutorily defined, but it has received judicial interpretation, and we are going to look into all of that, right? So just write this down word to word, every fact that is necessary for the plaintiff to prove that he is entitled to a decree in the suit. कि भाई बताओ तो सही, plaintiff जो शिकायत करने वाला आया है बताइए तो सही, please do tell us that why should we, because he is seeking a decree from you as a judge, why should he get the decree in his favor? What all happened? What all happened in layman language is technically speaking the cause of action. So for example, let us say that somebody approaches you for a relief in a contracts ka case, all right, and there is some contract that the plaintiff entered into and the defendant entered into, and they are fighting amongst each other. First and foremost in the cause of action is the making of the contract. They need to have entered into a contract to begin with, no? So that is a part of cause of action, because if that contract doesn't exist, how are they approaching you for relief for a case in contract, right? First. Second, there has to be breach of contract. One party must have specifically breached it so that the other parties become a plaintiff and has approached you कि देखिए, you said as per Indian Contract Act they will honor the contract, etc. Now they have not done this, so use the CPC as a procedural law, and the substantive law will be the Indian Contract Act 1872. In this केस ये आपका एंड वो कहता है जी इसको एग्जीक्यूट कराइए इस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट को। अब या तो स्पेसिफिक परफॉर्मेंस कराएंगे, या डैमेजेस दिलाइए इनसे, या इंजंक्शन दिलाइए इन पे। अलग अलग तरीके के रिलीफ हो सकते हैं। However, the cause of action will constitute first and foremost the making of that contract. Second, the cause of action is there has to be a breach, because without the breach, how will they approach you? So hopefully the funda of cause of action broadly is clear. We'll just write down all the details. So all those facts which must be proved in order to succeed. It is a bundle of facts whose proof is sine qua non for ultimate success in the suit. So the plaintiff has to prove to you as the judge, because you were not present when the contract was being made. He will have to prove to you that a contract was entered into. He will have to prove to you the defendant didn't complete their end of the bargain as was set out in the contract. That is why witnesses, etc., they all become really important. You know, at the time of making the document, you are like, koi bhi kar lo, kuch bhi kar lo. In case things go wrong, mostly they don't, but in case things go wrong, and in case things end up at a judge's table such as you will need all the proof, because the plaintiff needs to prove all of this to in front of you, because you are not there. You are not there at the mauka-e wardat. No, you will never be there. You will be sitting in your courtroom. People will be approaching to you for relief. तो वो आपको क्या करने आ रहे हैं? मनाने आ रहे हैं. Okay. So the facts and the cause of action. So facts, the bundle of facts you'll need for the cause of action, right? तो वहाँ पे plaint कहाँ पे दे रखी है? As usual in order 7. Now वैसे usually cause of action defined नहीं है, but let us see order 2 rule 3. Open a barak to order 2 rule 3 and see joinder of causes of action. So this is one of the few times this word has been used. Joinder of causes of action. Can there be multiple causes of action? Save as otherwise provided, a plaintiff may unite in the same suit several causes of action against the same defendant, or the same defendants jointly, and any plaintiff having causes of action in which they are jointly interested into the against the same defendant, or the same defendants jointly may unite such causes of action in the same suit. Let us say within the same family, people are fighting amongst themselves for the partition of the property, and then there are a couple of plaintiffs, कोई चाचा मामा ताया है, चाचा ताया है, और वर्सेस चल रही है अपनी cousins के बीच में, which more often than not happens. So order 2 rule 3 allows the joinder of cause of actions. We'll come back to this later, but I just wanted you to note down order 2 rule 3, that there is something called as joinder of causes of actions, because we did a misjoinder and non-joinder के बारे में हमने पिछले lecture में already बात करी हुई है. Alright, now order 7 आपका rule 11, rejection of plaint, one of the most cardinal rules that you can perhaps ever have in this code. You need to study this, you need to rote learn this inside and out. Order 7 rule 11. Why? Reject कौन करेगा plaint को? आप. Which exam are you? Which post are you applying for? The post of a judicial officer, correct? You need to know this. So this becomes one of the most cardinal rules for you. Order 7 rule 11. The plaint shall be rejected in the following cases: where it does not disclose a cause of action, कि आए क्यों हो यहाँ पर, बस घूमते फिरते आ गए थे, मन कर रहा था हमारा, नहीं. This is one of the reasons. Do you see the pre-ka question? Do you see it? As long as you start seeing the questions, or as soon as you start seeing the questions, my life becomes easier, and I'm proud to teach you, so that even I know that my student is now able to spot the questions or how they are created, because once you get into this habit, pre to is certainly not going to be a problem. All right, so do you see the pre का question? Rejection of plaint के ऊपर ये जितनी सारी शर्तें इन्होंने लगा रखी हैं, ये ऊपर 2 से 3 प्रकार के MCQs इससे extract out हो सकते हैं. All right, so where it does not disclose a cause of action. Now this is different from dismissal of a suit, by the way. This is rejection of plaint, कि ये गलत है, जरा दोबारा इसको लिख कर लाओ. Dismissal of suit is get out of my courtroom, I won't hear this. That is separate. This is rejection of plaint. This is mere rejection of plaint, कि जी plaint reject कर दी गई है, इसमें जो defect वगैरह है सारे के और करके लाओ, right? So it shall be rejected where it does not disclose a cause of action, where the relief claimed is undervalued and the plaintiff, on being required by the court to correct the valuation with the time to fix by the court, let us say 30 days आपको दे दिए गए हैं, the plaintiff is failing to do so. Where the relief claimed is properly valued, but the plaintiff is returned upon paper insufficiently stamped and the plaintiff on being required by the court to supply the requisite stamp paper within a time to be fixed by a court fails to do so. या तो appropriate stamp paper नहीं लेकर आ रहा या relief को undervalue करा गया है, कोर्ट ने कहा भैया इसको जरा correct करो, वो भी नहीं किया तुमने. Now if you don't do the work that the court is requiring you to do, the court is not going to do it on your behalf because, well, the court is not anyone's servant, no? Where the suit appears from the statement in the plaint to be barred by any law. Mostly it's limitation section 3, right? Where it is not filed in duplicated amendments, where the plaintiff fails to comply with the provisions of Rule 9. Rule 9 kya hai? Let us go here. Procedure on admitting plaint, where the court orders that the summons be served on the defendants in the manner provided in Rule 9 of Order 5. We'll go to all of this later. It will direct the plaintiff to present as many copies of the plaint on plain paper as there are defendants. Let us say there are 3 defendants. The plaintiff has to produce 3 copies because सारा काम plaintiff करेगा इसके अंदर, because it's at the end of the day it is the proceeding is civil in nature and civil में आप काम करेंगे, criminal में state काम करेगा. Within 7 days from the date of such order, along with the requisite fee of service on the service of summons on the defendant. Now think about it. ये आपके अगर आपने ये कंप्लाई नहीं करा तो भी रिजेक्शन हो जाएगी प्लेंट की. तो ये सारी की सारी जो शर्तें हैं जो यहाँ पे जो दे रखी हैं, होपफुली योर बेयर एक्ट इज ओपन टू दिस, because if you are studying without a bear act, and if you're how will you ever study without a bear act? You are studying for judicial services exams, and secondly, how will you mark out all of these things? So ठीक है जी, okay. Procedure on rejecting plaint. Well, where a plaint is rejected, the judge shall record an order to that effect with the reasons for such order. That's absolutely okay. Procedure on admitting plaint, we'll come back to later, क्योंकि इस पे अभी काम करना है. अभी plaint का कुछ खत्म नहीं हुआ, अभी कुछ नहीं हुआ, ये सब ऊपर से चीजें हैं ताकि आपको अच्छे से एक बारी broadly structure समझ में आ जाए. Now, do you understand? Now, in the introductory topics only, I'm revolving around 6, 7, 8, 6, 7, 8. That is why we open CPC with 6, 7, 8. All right. So hopefully the rejection is now clear, rejection of the plaint. In the next lecture, we will see an actual plaint. We're going to see the nitty-gritties as well, and we'll connect back to this lecture as well. That is going to be the beauty of this this online batch and the course. If you're watching this outside of the batch, in the course, because courses, subject-wise courses will be available, but I usually refer to the entire batch, the entire online batch for Delhi Judicial Services exam. अच्छा जी, मेरे notes इधर-उधर हो गए हैं. चलो जी, आगे चलते हैं. Order 7, plaint. Right? Rule 1, particulars to be contained in plaint. Agle lecture mein we'll come to an actual plaint. The name of the court in which the suit is brought, etc., etc. We have already opened this. Now just look at Order 1, Rule 1, Clause E. The facts constituting the cause of action and when it arose. ये क्या चक्कर है जी? When it arose. Why is it written? You remember Section 3 of the Limitation Act, in which even if it was not plead, limitation was not plead, it was duty of the court to check whether this suit is being hit by the Limitation Act, right? So the date becomes extremely important as to, वो कह रहे जी पहले the facts constituting the cause of action. आ गया आपका cause of action, कह रहे सब कुछ बताओ, sequence में बताओ क्या हुआ, कैसे हुआ. Then I'll check and when it arose, dates सारी बताओगे so that I can check limitation, because आप तो बताएंगे नहीं, मुझे check करना पड़ेगा. And that is why Section 3 of the Limitation Act becomes important for you as a person who is now wanting to become a judge. ठीक है जी, अच्छा. For example, let us say, now we'll come back to, now we've gone back to that example that I used very initially in the lecture. So just mark this out. When it arose का limitation, just mark it out. ठीक है जी, अच्छा. Give me 1 second. Okay, so now what is cause of action in a breach of contract? We'll just take an example. Anytime that you're writing a short note type answer in your exam, you are going to be explaining it, short note type, any damn concept that you can pick up. You're going to be explaining it with a hypothetical example to demonstrate to the examiner that you've understood the concept. Now, what is cause of action breach of contract? That is, what facts must be proved by the plaintiff in such a suit so that he may succeed in obtaining a decree in his favor. That is what this question really is. Now, 2 facts he must prove, as we discussed earlier. That is, the defendant entered into an alleged contract, that is fact number 1, Fact number 2 is defendant committed a breach of contract. That's fact number 2. Because to obtain a decree in your favor, you will need to prove both of these facts. Proving of facts, etc. Evidence Act समझाती है आपको, right? But we'll get to Evidence Act when later in the batch. If you're watching this in the course, well then your course will be limited to CPC only. I'm talking generally to the entire batch of the Delhi Judicial Services exam. Now that is cause of action के अंदर. Now what is the cause of action? Making of contract and breach of the contract, breach of the same contract by the defendant. Therefore, both of these have to be alleged in the plaint. Both have to be proved at the hearing of the suit to entitle the plaintiff to the decree that he is seeking. Both of these have to be alleged in the plaint, because in the plaint, if the cause of action is not mentioned, Order 7 Rule 1 rejection of plaint का पहला ही ground भेजो plaint को यहाँ से, dismissal of suit नहीं है, it is rejection of plaint. Do you understand what is happening here? You need to mention the cause of action in the plaint. That is the first ground of the rejection of the plaint, so you will have to be very careful. That is why usually nobody pays you at the very beginning of litigation, because you do not know such fun facts, and then if your client ka suit gets dismissed at the very first onset, yeah, chalo, the suit to dismissed bahut baat ki baat hai. Let us say plaint is itself rejected in the very first go, because you didn't specify the cause of action very properly, because nobody had trained you before. Well, the client will tell कि भाई उस वकील से काम मत कराइए, वो बहुत ख़राब वकील है. तो इसीलिए you need to practice under someone who is into that domain of law that you are interested to practice and to teach you all of this. Because academics can teach you terms, academics can tell you all of this, but unless and until you see this in real life, as in this machinery working in real life, you won't be able to practice law as a lawyer. Alright. So a decree for damages against the defendant. Now example, let us say Mukul, who is a student of this course, enters into a contract with Nandini in Bombay and goods to be delivered in Bombay. See, Nandini also is a student. So in Bombay, to be delivered in Bombay itself, so the whole cause of action arises in Bombay itself. If Mukul enters into a contract with Nandini in Bombay, but the goods delivery is in, let us say, in Madras, a part of cause of action, that is making of contract, arose in Bombay. A part of cause of action, the breach they must be in court for breach only. Breach happened in Madras. Now in this case the scenario becomes complicated कि place of suing कौन सी होगी, Bombay होगी या Madras होगी. That is why कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स के अंदर काफ़ी कुछ चीज़ें स्पेसिफाइड रहती हैं कि कल को अगर लड़ाई मारकाट हुई तो कौन से कोर्ट में जाके करें, राइट? अच्छा, और मान लो कि ऐसा कोई क्लॉज नहीं है, चलिए क्लॉज को भी छोड़िए, इवन देन द कोर्ट कैन डिसाइड वेदर इट हैज़ द टेरिटोरियल जुरिसडिक्शन टू ट्राई such a suit or not, because partially cause of action is arising in Bombay, partially it is arising in Madras, and in complex contracts, partially the cause of action can arise in a multiple number of places. Then what do? That is the beauty of CPC, that it contemplates all of such situations any which way. When we get to those details, we are going to be going into such details, no? So alright, so this will determine the court in which the case is to be instituted, and for that purpose now open your BEAR Act to 16, 17 and 20. Actually अगले lecture का काम था. However, I will just take you through the sections again ऊपर से, but you need to be going through the sections. जैसे जैसे टॉपिक उठ रहे हैं वैसे वैसे सेक्शन उठेंगे, क्योंकि इन BEAR Acts को स्पेशली प्रोसीजरल लॉ आप स्टेप बाय स्टेप की, पहले मैं सेक्शन 1 पढ़ूंगा, फिर 2, 3 होगा नहीं, ऐसे ही घुमा के जब सारी चीज़ें क्लियर हो जाएंगी, देन वी लॉजिकली ले आउट द BEAR Act, राइट? सो कोर्ट इन विच सूट इज टू बी इंस्टीट्यूटेड, सो यू गो टू 15, 16 एक्सेट्रा. क्या टाइटल क्या दे रखा है? प्लेस ऑफ सोइंग. क्योंकि पहले ये भी तो जाने कि कोर्ट तो बहुत सारे हैं देश में, कहाँ जाएं, किसके सामने जाके लड़ाई करेंगे. Every suit shall be instituted in the court of the lowest grade competent to try it. I have already explained to you what this means. This is an MCQ. Shall be instituted in the. So this portion is a pre-ka MCQ. Mark it in your BEAR Act. Okay. Now suits to be instituted where subject matter situate. All right. subject to the pecuniary or other limitations prescribed by any law. Pecuniary money, right? For the recovery of immovable property with or without rent or profits, for the partition of immovable property, for foreclosure, sale or redemption in the case of mortgage. एक और प्री का एक एमसीक्यू बता दें. सेक्शन 67 ट्रांसफर ऑफ प्रॉपर्टी एक्ट, जरा चेक करना खोल के, पॉज कर लीजिए लेक्चर यहाँ पे. Even if you don't have the TPA right away, let us say in a hard copy, check what is written in section 67 of the TPA. And this is how you need to connect everything, by the way. This is precisely how a judicial services exam really works, right? Just check foreclosure, sale, redemption, foreclosure or sale की relief दे रखी है in section 67 of the TPA. When we get to TPA, as in if you are in the CPC का course, then of course you won't be getting into TPA. Again, generally I talking to the batch of the Delhi Judicial Service exam, वो तो TPA तो हमने करनी है course में, right? Of a charge upon immovable property or the determination of any other right or to interest in immovable property, for compensation for wrong to immovable property, for the recovery of movable property actually under distraint or attachment. So this is on movable, rest everything is about immovable. Shall be instituted in the court within the local limits of whose jurisdiction the property is situate. इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी मोस्टली के बारे में तो ये तो बात तय हो गई कि जहाँ की प्रॉपर्टी है, लोकल जुरिस्डिक्शन जो कोर्ट की जो टेरिटोरियल जुरिस्डिक्शन है उसी के अंडर वो वहाँ पे केस लगेगा, डिपेंडिंग ऑन ऑफ कोर्स पेक्यूनरी एंड अदर रेलेवेंट लॉज. ऑलराइट, डू यू सी द एमसीक्यू फॉर इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी? या तो ये डिटेल्स दे देगा और पूछ लेगा, या consider which of the following statements is correct or incorrect, और उनमें से एक ही fun fact दे देगा. So when you have already read through it, because you do not need to learn these sections word to word. If you have conceptually understood it, you will be marking the correct option. It is as simple as that. ठीक है जी. Okay. Now 17 के ऊपर थोड़ा सा slightly आगे थोड़ा सा लंबा सेक्शन है, अगले लेक्चर में करेंगे, अगले से अगले में, इनफैक्ट अगले में तो प्लेन देखेंगे, प्लेस ऑफ सुइंग के ऊपर जब लेक्चर आएगा तब देखेंगे. बट ऊपर आते हैं 16 हमने देखना है. अच्छा चलिए 17 भी देख ही लेते हैं थोड़ा बहुत. Suits for immovable property situate within jurisdiction of different courts where a suit is to obtain relief respecting or compensation for wrong to immovable property situate within the jurisdiction of different court. The suit may be instituted in any court within the local limits of whose jurisdiction any portion of the property is situate, provided that in respect of the value of subject the entire claim is cognizable, etc. We do not need to go into. So now any court, let us say that there is a property multiple jurisdictions के अंदर है, multiple as in multiple courts के अंदर आ रही है, किसी भी कोर्ट में लगा दो. It's as simple as that. We'll go to 20. Subject to the limitation aforesaid, every suit shall be instituted in court within the local limits of whose jurisdiction the defendant or each of the defendants, where there are more than one, at the time of commencement of the suit actually and voluntarily resides or carries on business or personally works for gain. So all of these will go into details. What does resides, what does carries on business, what does works for gain mean, right? So other suits to be instituted where defendants reside or cause of action arises. Any of the defendants where there are more than one at the time of commencement of the suit actually and voluntarily resides or carries on business or personally works for gain, provided that in such case either the leave of the court is given or the defendant who do not reside or carry on business or personally works for gain as aforesaid acquiescence in such institution, or the cause of action wholly or in part as we discussed arises. खैर अब तो यहाँ पे रिपील हो गया. अच्छा, कॉर्पोरेशन के अंदर जरा देख लेते हैं. कॉर्पोरेशन shall be deemed to carry on business at its sole or principal office in India or in respect of any cause of action arising any place where it also has a subordinate office at such place. Therefore, that is why the registrar of companies is hell-bent, and the address where you are registering the company becomes really important, because if litigation arises later on, all of these clauses they come into play. However, just have a look ऊपर से, nothing much more to be done. Immovable properties for certainly जहाँ पे वो property है वहीं पे काम होगा. ठीक है जी. वापस आएंगे 16, 17, 20 में वापस आना ही आना है हमें. अच्छा जी, इलस्ट्रेशन देख ले 20 की. A is a tradesman in Calcutta. B carries on business in Delhi. Okay. B buys agent in Calcutta buy goods of A and requests A to deliver them to the East Indian Railway Company. क्योंकि उस टाइम पे एक्ट्स लिखी गई थी तो they were very obsessed with East India. A delivers the goods accordingly in Calcutta. A may sue B for the price of the goods either in Calcutta where the cause of action has arisen or in Delhi where B carries on business. ठीक है जी? I believe this is very very simple. So either Calcutta, why? Because he's a tradesman in Calcutta and agent in Calcutta से जो आपका जो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट जो हुआ होगा, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट भी उनका एजेंट गया है तो सारा काम मोस्टली कैलकाटा में हो गया, बट दिल्ली में डिलीवरी मांग रहे, राइट? ए डिलीवर्स, अच्छा दिल्ली में डिलीवरी नहीं मांग रहे, ए डिलीवर्स द गुड्स अकॉर्डिंगली इन कैलकाटा. A may sue B for the price of the goods either in Calcutta where the cause of action is arisen or in Delhi where B carries on business. अब B को पकड़ना है, B दिल्ली वाला तो दिल्ली में पकड़ लेंगे इसको. ठीक है जी. वैसे तो दुखी करने के लिए लोग कैलकाटा में ही सूट लगाएंगे कि आजा. B अपना बाहर से ही अपने आप आउट ऑफ कोर्ट सेटलमेंट कर लेगा. A resides at Shimla, B at Calcutta and C at Delhi. Now we make things slightly more complex. A, B and C being together at Banaras. अच्छा जी, लो जी बनारस भी आ गया. शिमला था, कलकत्ता था, दिल्ली था और यहाँ पे आ गया जी बनारस. एंड बी एंड सी मेक अ जॉइंट प्रॉमिसरी नोट पेबल ऑन डिमांड एंड डिलीवर इट टू ए. ओके. ए मे सू बी एंड सी एट बनारस where the cause of action arose. Great. He may also sue them at Calcutta where B resides or at Delhi where C resides. But in each of these cases, if the non-resident defendant objects, the suit cannot proceed without the leave of the court. So the residence of defendant becomes absolutely crucial. That is why they keep on asking you for your address proof in most of the contracts, the forms that you fill, the indemnity bonds that you sign, etc. Why? So that if things go wrong, usually things don't go wrong. Hopefully, ईश्वर करे कि आपको कभी litigation ना देखनी पड़े, ईश्वर करे हमें भी कभी ना देखनी पड़े. However, अगर ऐसा कुछ हुआ, then basically your address becomes important, right? Important illustrations, mark them out. Straight pre-KMC क्यों आते हैं? Straight सीधा उठा के last वाली line उठा के पूछ लेगा where all will be the place of suing. So this is basically section 20 के, I think section 20 के ही है ना illustration, जरा देख लीजिएगा अपने बैराक में. Now for example, in the case of a tort, A brings a suit for damages for a libel upon A. In order that A may be entitled to a decree, A will need to prove. तो contract के case में तो we discussed about the cause of action. Now what all will A need to prove? That is, the writing complained of is published by the defendant. भाई A और B में लड़ाई हो रही है तो A पहले तो ये बताए कि this writing that he's crying about has actually been published by B. Secondly, it is untrue because that is necessary, no, for the cause of action that is suit, and the cause of action, the cause for which that they are in the court, and that it is defamatory. अगर defamatory नहीं होगी तो फिर tort कैसे claim करोगे libel का या basically defamation का overall, right? Defamation पुरानी IPC में section 499 of the IPC, नई वाली में देखना पड़ेगा कि कहाँ पे इन्होंने shift करी है. ठीक है जी. Okay. These three facts constitute A's cause of action and they must be alleged in A's plaint. Before drafting the plaint, well, you look at the substantive law. TPA के substantive law आपका TPA है, Contract Act है, आपकी specific performance है, sales of good है. क्योंकि civil में तो बहुत सारी चीज़ें आती हैं ना, and I kid you not, if you are a good civil lawyer, you will be able to practice criminal तो आप यूँ ही कर लेंगे practice. क्योंकि सब्सटैंटिव लॉ वहाँ पे कम है, यहाँ पे बहुत सारे हैं और एक ही तरीके से चल रहे हैं. We will be all being governed by procedurally by the CPC. If you are able to make sense of all of this, all of the system that is there on the civil side, criminal won't exactly be much of a botheration for you. All right. So before drafting the plaint, the Vakil Sahab has to look at substantive law, which provisions to use and how they will align or gel well with the CPC, and how the CPC, the procedure, will set the substantive law in motion, and how using all of that, you need to get a decree from the courtroom that you will be governing as a judge. All right. Now, subject matter. You can't go to a railway tribunal for a divorce ki decree, no. that is just outside of its subject matter. Subject matter jurisdiction is sine qua non without which a court shall be incompetent to try the cause. It is as simple as that. Write this down word to word. Subject matter jurisdiction is sine qua non, that is absolutely essential, without which a court shall be incompetent to try the cause. Try to write similar language. I'm not saying, I do not expect you to remember, basically recall this word to word in your mains exam, but as soon as you get into the habit of writing such similar language, you will be fetching much more marks in mains as compared to your competition. Okay. We go back again to order 7. You see why I opened up with order 7. Let me have a glass of water. Order 7, फिर से बैराक में खोल लो. Now order 7 plaint के अंदर जरा जाना, clause G पे. The relief which the plaintiff claims and a statement of the value of subject matter of the suit for the purpose of jurisdiction and of court fees so far as the court case admits. रटना ही है. ऑर्डर 7 रूल 1. अच्छा, और रिजेक्शन कहाँ हो रही थी? रूल 11. अमेंडमेंट ऑफ प्लीडिंग्स कहाँ हो रही थी? ऑर्डर 6 रूल 17. राइट, 6 में ही थी ना, 7 में तो नहीं थी. देख लेना, मतलब कहीं क्या पता कभी कभार मैं गलत बोल दूँ, बिकॉज आई डू दिस ऑल फ्रॉम मेमोरी, सो समटाइम्स आई गो इनकरेक्ट. हाउएवर आई ट्राई टू रिमेन करेक्ट मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम्स. देख लेना, ठीक है जी, क्योंकि बार बार जितनी बार देखेंगे उतना बार अच्छा होगा. रेपिटेशन इज द की टू सक्सेस. ऑर्डर 7 रूल 7. रिलीफ टू बी स्पेसिफिकली स्टेटेड. सो कॉज ऑफ एक्शन एक्सेट्रा इज डन. वी नीड टू, हम एसेंशियल्स ऑफ सूट में थे, सब्जेक्ट मैटर भी हो गया, अब रिलीफ पे आ गए हैं. रिलीफ क्या क्या है? एवरी प्लेंट शैल स्टेट स्पेसिफिकली द रिलीफ विच द प्लेंटिफ क्लेम्स आइदर सिंपली और इन द ऑल्टरनेटिव, and it shall not be necessary to ask general other leave, which may always be given as the court may think just to the same extent as if it had been asked for, and the same rule shall apply to any relief claimed by the defendant in his written statement. So defendant, plaintiff तो relief क्या चाहिए भैया कोर्ट से, वो तो बताइए. Defendant का जो जवाब आया in its WS, in short form in advocacy practice we call it as a WS. Please state out the relief, that is the prayer to the court कि भाई क्या चाहते, क्या हुआ आप इस कोर्ट रूम से, राइट. The relief which the plaintiff claims, it has to be there. All right. अच्छा, homework, go to order 7 rule 11, check अगर relief plaint में नहीं हुआ होगा, is it liable to be rejected? चेक कर लो, ठीक है जी. ओके, आगे चलें. Now relief, for example, so these are examples, you can always use these examples. So all of the stuff that I am dictating to you, let me check कितना lecture हो गया. अच्छा, I think आधा घंटा हो गया, but we'll just complete this यहीं पे. All of the stuff that I'm telling to you, if you can write similar contents in your main का answer first and foremost, क्योंकि देखिए मुझे मेरे लिए बड़ा आसान है यहाँ पे बोलना ये भी लिखो वो भी लिखो. You need to time manage because mains is the test of your time management as well. भाई 3 घंटे का ही तो पेपर है, just like writing a semester का पेपर only, जो 3 घंटे का जो स्टैंडर्ड पेपर है. बट however कितना क्या लिखेंगे. So write the most important stuff. Always write one conceptual, basically one example in which you can demonstrate to the examiner that you've understood the concept first and foremost. One. Second का क्या काम करना है? A classic case law on that topic, just standard case law stuff such as this, right? So relief in suits on contracts, you have 3 remedies mainly with you: specific performance, damages, and injunctions. Specific performance, usually it is said, the rule is it is primarily, in the cases of immovable property, so in the cases of immovable property, specific performance is usually asked for, and in the cases of movable property, usually damages are asked. Why do I say this? For example, let us say that there is an A ka house. Mr. A is always selling houses to B, and B for rupees 10 crore. I could have used the example for rupees 1000, but आजकल अच्छा नहीं लगता ना. When I'm shooting this in 2023, you may be watching this in 2024, 2025 or further years ahead. अच्छा नहीं लगता कि 10,000 रुपए का घर, ऐसा वो ज़माने कहाँ ही है. तो 10 crore ठीक अमाउंट लगता है. Let us say A enters into an agreement to sell. We informally call it as an ATS in normal day parlance. So ATS, it fails, and then B then is entitled to a decree directing A to B on payment. So that is specific performance. So usually in the case of immovable property, we want specific performance only कि भैया ये भाग रहा है, इससे मेरा अग्रीमेंट टू सेल हुआ था, इसीलिए वो जो कहते हैं ना बयान ना कर लो और उसका जो डॉक्यूमेंट है दैट बिकम्स क्रूशियल. पीपल यूजली विश टू कि वो 100-200 का मार्केट से बनवा लो, उससे कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, बाद में करोड़ों रुपए का नुकसान हो सकता है. So always hire a good lawyer and always carry you to must be a lawyer only. And watching this, just general to the general janta, just invest 10-20,000 rupees in drafting a good ATS that protects your rights future in the case of any contingency that ever takes place. Now in the case of movable property, let us say A enters into a contract with B to sell 100 kgs of sugar to B and well fails. So B can claim damages. अब ऐसा है ना, वो कोर्ट जाके कहे नहीं मुझे तो स्पेसिफिक परफॉर्मेंस कराओ जी, मेरे को तो यही वाली चीनी चाहिए. अब ऐसा तो कोई चीनी मत कुछ मतलब ऐसे कुछ स्पेसिफिक तो है नहीं. ही कैन बाय सिमिलर चीनी at a rate from the market. He can, sure enough, he can claim damages. Let us say that he buys from the market at 120 rupees a kilo. He can claim 20 rupees as damages as well. But usually यहाँ पे damages है कि पैसे दो जी, इन्होंने मेरा जी contract नहीं पूरा करा. So in movable usually it is damages. In immovable mostly it is for specific performance. Just a general example that I've given you. Now relief in the case of torts. So we are in the topic of relief. Relief in the case of torts is damages or injunction. So damages is for a tort that has already been committed. Injunction to stop the other party that is आपका about to be commit कि ये करने वाला है जी ये काम, इसमें injunction लगाओ, इसको रुकवाओ यहाँ पर. So that is the relief that you can claim in the case of a tort. Relief in suits on mortgage. So the mortgager has a remedy or the relief that he can seek from the court is redemption. And mortgagee जो है that sale or foreclosure of the mortgage, check as I told you section 67 of the Transfer Property Act. Hopefully you have checked it by now and you know what I'm talking about, but we won't get into TPA right about now. We will sure enough take up a sample case of TPA and how the CPC will be used with that case later on, but firstly we'll cover out the core concepts and then we can discuss that. So relief claimed in the plaint, they are called as prayers. They are usually mentioned in the last paragraph of the plaint, right? And that brings me to the close of this chapter, bringing me much relief, and I pray कि सब कुछ काफ़ी कुछ समझ में आ गया और regarding the cause of action and the 4 essentials to a suit: parties, cause of action, subject matter, and relief claimed, right? Next, in the next lecture, let us look at an actual complaint or rather plaint and see अभी तक हमने क्या पढ़ा है, actually see it so that काफ़ी कुछ याद रह जाए. Then we'll go to place of suing कि अब जरा ढूंढो कौन से कोर्ट में. Then we go to res judicata as well, res judicata, constructive res judicata etc. तो फिर हम कह सकते हैं कि हमारी पार्टी पीक पे पहुंच गई है, क्योंकि अगर ये सब हमें समझ में आ गया है then we'll go to आपकी गार्निशिंग प्रोसीडिंग्स हैं, समरी है, आगे रिविजन्स हैं, अपील्स हैं, and then we'll wind up the CPC, right? तो अभी तक hopefully everything is going good. I sincerely hope that you're doing well and you're studying well, right? I'll see you in the next lecture. Next lecture थोड़ा छोटा होगा. We'll just cover out plain from a practical point of view. All right, take care, bye.